All right. Super excited. Let me just display settings. Presentation. Okay. Are you able to see the PowerPoint?
Nope, but we can see you.
Okay, hold on. I thought I'm sharing my screen.
You got to click the share button and click the share screen button. There you go. Voila, and click on voila.
Yep.
And, nope, we're looking at the wrong screen. You want to click the other one. There you go.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Habatat Now. I'm your host, Regina, and this is the 5-question series focused on the influential women in glass art. So happy to have everyone to join. But before we start, here's what's happening in your glass world today. As you guys know, the GAS conference will be coming to Detroit June 7th through the 10th. Super excited to have that on your calendar. I hope you can guys all make it to that. As you guys know, Habatat Detroit Fine Art brand new exhibition is titled We Are Blown Away by the artist John Moran, which includes 11 unique and powerful works. This includes his largest work he's ever created, and it will definitely be you need to see to believe. So come on to Habatat, come check it out, and definitely add that to your calendar as well. Also, Thursday, August 25th, this is coming up really soon. It is our amazing Masterworks Auction. Hop on to habatatglass.com. You're able to bid today. You're able to bid online, through the phone, silent bids. There's a lot of works that are added, but currently we have up to 55 works on display to be bid for. And now let's get started on our amazing women. So here we have, starting off with Leah Wingfield. She's been working in the medium for 36 years with multiple bodies of work displayed in galleries and museums. Our last exhibition, if you guys can remember, was her amazing Tango series, which was completely sold out. Let's welcome Leah Wingfield. Woo! Leah! Next, we have Shelly. Might butcher this, Muzylowski Allen. She's been showcasing her work at Habatat since 2008. She is super well known through the entire glass world. She's been teaching internationally in Japan, Finland, and England. We do currently have a solo exhibition of her work on display here at Habatat. Come on and see it. Amazing artist. Please welcome Shelley Allen. Stephanie Trenchard. She's mastered the sandcasting process. Her work has been displayed and mostly sold due to their popularity here at Habatat. She's currently working on 2 biographical pieces about women artists, as well as a series on her experiences of working creatively in multiple disciplines. That includes glass, painting, poetry, all at the same time. She's amazing. Please welcome Stephanie Trenchard. Woohoo! Deanna Clayton. She's a longtime member of the Habatat family, 25 years in the glass art world. She is the king of her own style of pâté vert, currently working on her new artwork in her newly built studio. She's an artist, a teacher of her technique. She's been teaching in New York, Cleveland, and Florida. Please welcome Deanna Clayton. Pearl Dick, last but not least, she's a Chicago artist and co-founder of Project Fire and director of Firebird Community Arts. She's been in the glass world for over 20 years and shows her work in galleries and museums all over the country. Please welcome them, and let's get started on the amazing question and answer. Woohoo! So I'm just going to now exit this, stop sharing, and let's go. All right, now.
Did you comment about Hannah?
Oh, Hannah Gibson, did I forget about you?
There's always one rogue that sneaks in somewhere.
Hold on, Hannah. Yeah. Well, I gotta give you your props right now because it's amazing. Let me redo this. Sorry, guys, I got too excited. I'm just so excited about this. There's Erin, amazing. Oh gosh, now I have to go.
Hannah, you're just so awesome. You know, it's like, we don't even need to mention.
All right, here we go. Hannah Gibson. She is the newest member of the Habatat family. When we had our Pop and Lock-in show, that's when we first showed her. and she's been in glass for over 23 years. She's been popularized over her recycled glass Lego figurines, but she's currently creating artwork using recycled COVID vaccine bottles, which is super exciting. So please welcome our amazing Hannah Gibson. I would never forget about you again, I promise. All right, now, ladies, let's go. So the first question I have is for the amazing Shelley Allen, and that question is, what does it mean to you to be a woman in studio glass? Oh, I need to unmute everyone, Abe.
I thought about that question quite a bit, and I guess at first I feel very honored to be able to use the material. But the fact that I'm a woman using the material, I find it's less important than being an artist using the material, because it's such a specific way of working and requires, you know, a specific studio and equipment and a team. I think that anybody who has pursued this medium has just, you know, they've been really stubborn. They've been, I want to say strong, because you need a lot of mental and physical power to use it. So I think that definitely contributes to, you know, a gender. If you're a woman, you often think that you're maybe not strong enough to do stuff like this. So I feel like being a woman in the glass world, maybe it's a bit of overcoming your societal restraints. A lot of people tell you, oh, you can't do that because you are a woman. How could you ever, you know, facilitate that? So I think that just, you know, being an artist working with the material really is it's a special place in the art world. I really believe, because there are so few of us using it. But to be a woman in it just kind of, I feel like maybe all of us here just have that little bit of extra, a little bit extra stubbornness, a little bit more tenacity, you know, just keep our heads down and push through and get what's done, what needs to be done. Yeah, it's, yeah, I think it's less gender, but the more you think about what it takes to work with glass, it does show that maybe we just have a little bit more tenacity.
Absolutely. Does anyone have anything else to comment on that?
I have something to say about that. It's something that I never thought about, maybe because I had 3 brothers and I just always was, you know, keeping up with those guys. But I never thought about it until I was in a show at the Bergstrom Muller Glass Museum with a group of women, and we all showed up for the opening. And when you were in the room with all those women that are all like-minded and have that same energy and power, you felt it, and it was amazing. And it was like one of my favorite experiences of my entire career. And I never thought about it. I didn't know that was a thing. So
it's definitely a different camaraderie, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when you're with like-minded people, you know, it's a special experience.
Thank you so much for answering and commenting, Deanna. Okay, so the next question is for the amazing Leah Wingfield, and that question is, who has been a role model that you've looked up to?
Oh, well, several. You know, I'd have to start with my mentors, you know, my direct mentors, which are, you know, starting with my husband, Steve Clements, who was my first teacher. And then my Tucson guys, Michael Joplin and Tom Philibom, who really, you know, opened their studios to me. They were very generous. They, you know, actually made it all possible. And, you know, I worked with Michael Joplin as a gaffer for 6 years. And I started with him, you know, really as an apprentice and as an assistant. And then, you know, by the time we decided not to work together anymore for various reasons, I was his head gaffer. And I would have to say that the only time that, you know, going back to that last question briefly, the only time that it was ever presented to me that being a woman might be an issue was by Michael. And he, at one point, you know, I was starting to take over more of the gaffing of the work and the blanks that he was working on. And at the time he was doing these 18-inch in diameter platters. There's one behind me right there. And he suggested that that just might be a little too big for me. He didn't mean anything, you know, but I am a girl. And I didn't believe him. And in the end, he was really glad that I didn't believe him, because I took over blowing the big 18-inch platters and he didn't have to anymore. So,
that's amazing.
And so Michael was really important to me. But those, you know, those guys were really directly responsible for, you know, opening up their studios, teaching me everything. And then, you know, from there, it was a lot of my exposure at Pilchuck, where I was there from about 1984 to 1990. And I was on the summer staff for 3 years. I was the maintenance man. And so that experience gave me access to all of the faculty and all of the artists that came all summer long. And in there, you know, it's just a laundry list of those artists. And so influences from then and still now are particularly on Wolf is, you know, very important to me. Flora and Joey, you know, were great examples of, you know, how to get in there and hang in there. So it's kind of a laundry list like that. But I really have to give a lot of credit to those 3 Tucson guys. And then finally, my other mentors have been Ferd Hampson and Serge Leshazinski, my gallery owner in France. And then the other 2 gallery owners who were very influential in the beginning were Ellie and Bob Miller, who had a gallery in New York. All three of those, 4 of those people mentored me as an artist and as a professional. And without them, wouldn't be here. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah, that's amazing. Does anyone else have any comments or questions?
Yeah, I do. I would say that as an artist, a woman artist, I was in college trying to figure out how I would do this, because I knew I wanted to have a family and children. And I would look at art history books and see who had managed to navigate this. And there aren't many women in Jansen's art history book from the 80s, but I hope that's changing now. But I would say that Kiki Smith has been a really great woman artist who, you know, did the bridge between fine art and glass art, particularly on Wolf. And for me, when Beth Littman came to our studio, you know, we had kind of had a different mentality before she came. We had, you know, kind of that macho glass kind of perfection and mentality. And she came and she had such an ease with the material, and she just opened up my eyes to what was possible. And that was only 15 years ago, but she helped me with my sculpting so much. So I want to send a word out to her.
Yeah, shout out. Anyone else? Go ahead, Pearl.
I mean, I want to just like point out like the other women who were asked to like answer these questions on this call with me. I mean, you all have been people that I've looked up to, and I have like a packing business called the Pack Animals, like a little fine art packing thing that's kind of on the side. And like, I've packed up all of your work, like all of your work.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I just saw yours like 3 days ago, Leah.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been at a lot of these like big collectors' homes in Chicago, and they've got like, you know, all the old school, like the stuff that everybody has in their collections. And you guys are almost always in those collections as well. So I just want to point that out too. I mean, you guys have been killing it. So well done. And Shelly, I think most of you probably know Shelly, but if you've seen her in person, you know, she's not a huge human. And it's like, just like totally crushes it in the shop. It's like, I've always been really impressed to see you throwing glass around, Shelly, and obviously making beautiful stuff. But yeah.
Pearl, that means a lot. Thank you so much. And I am sitting down right now, just so you guys know.
Oh, yeah, thank you guys all for giving me folks to look up to and my coming up too.
That's
Well,
so
back at you, girl, because your work is amazing, and then you do so much for the community. It's unbelievable. You are a real hero.
Thanks, Stephanie. You're gonna blush.
Wow, this is a love fest. I love it.
This is a love fest. This is how we do it.
All right, and then next question is for Stephanie. How has being a female influenced your work?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, most of my work has been about investigating and going into these wormholes of study of how people navigate their careers as artists, writers, the wives of artists, the muses. I'm very interested in the whole dynamic and the relationship between relationships, familial and marriages and all of it. So it's very fascinating to me. I think that's because, kind of back to what Deanna was talking about, how women, without, it's hard to have this conversation without making, sweeping generalizations. And so we have to always be careful when we say, even when we say the word women, it's tricky. But basically, as a generalization, back to what Deanna was saying about the connection and about all women, when they're together, there's a deeper connection of conversation, of bonding, of information passed back and forth. And it tends to be happening more with women than with men. And that's all, anyone who identifies as women. So I think that's a big part of it. We started a glass school in Thailand, and most of the students were women. And we had, I think we had 2 men and 8 women, very sophisticated artists, very excited and curious about glass. But our communication was benefited by the conversations we had as women, apart from talking about the glass, but as bonding in that way. And then that led to a deeper connection with the material. So I think that whole concept of the connection and the conversations and the exchange of information is what is so important for women in the arts. And when I say all these things, that is not to say that that doesn't happen with men. I'm just saying it tends to happen more this way. And when you look at the artwork of women, it tends to be a little bit more detailed, specific about smaller stories in life. And where a lot of male art can be broader gestures about bigger issues. Now, both of these are all huge generalizations. So it's a nuance, there's lots of gray area. But I think there's a sort of leaning that way. Anyway, does anyone else agree with me?
I would agree with you. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I love how we're all talking about like how it's not like being a woman in this medium is not the defining thing about, our work or what we do, or even just acknowledging these sweeping generalizations and talking more about like individuals, like how individuals approach situations, whatever gender they identify as. So I'm happy to see this conversation going in that direction, like where it's less and less a thing to be a woman working in this medium and just be an artist, as you said, Shelley, working in this medium. Yeah, so I think that's awesome. And it's going to be normalized to the point where it's not even going to be a question anymore. I think we're already pretty close to that.
I agree with you. Okay.
Yeah, you can see an all-male art show, and it's called an all-male art show. Then we'll know that we're really there.
Very true. Okay, and next question is for Deanna. Deanna, what examples of innovation in the medium were women directly responsible for?
That's a tough question for me. I don't know exactly specific innovations. I just know that women bring something special to the hardness of glass. I think that they make it more fluid and It's a tough question for me. That of all the questions that you had on there, I said, don't ask me that question.
Deanna, can I trade questions with you, or at least jump in on this one?
That would be fantastic.
I want to tell you, you guys, so I was like thinking about these questions, and like, and you know, as you do, Stephanie, and as I know a bunch of you do, it got me thinking. I started doing some research, and I really went down this wormhole of women and like female identified inventors. And I would love to share like some of what I found.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, cool. So I started, I was thinking about this too, because, okay, so first I thought of a story that I heard. I don't know if this is true, but like Karen Lamont, like when she was starting out, like I heard like she was going to the Czech Republic to try to figure out how to do those castings that were like the exterior and the interior castings. And one of the first words she learned in Czech was impossible. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard that and I love that, and it stuck with me. And you know, I think her castings are just like technically amazing. I don't really know her personally. I imagine people on this call do though. But so if anybody can corroborate that story, I would love to hear it, but if it's true. But so I started looking up like inventions that were specifically, you know, like tied to women that were specifically glass. And again, it led me on this wormhole. So I realized that like a woman invented the aquarium, like the very first glass aquarium.
Cool.
That is really cool. I've never known that.
Isn't that so cool? It was a French naturalist named Jeannie Villepreux Power. And she invented this aquarium, the very first glass aquarium ever in 1832. And it was because she really wanted to like be able to examine like marine life over an extended period of time. So she could like create these little marine environments in her lab and study them. So, and then I realized that a woman invented the windshield wiper and was told that it was rejected for manufacturing. See, that was, well, then I wrote this down too. The windshield wiper was Mary Anderson in 1903. And her design was initially rejected by the manufacturer because they said it was like practically like, or it was like impractical. Like we don't need it. And I'm like, can you imagine not having the windshield?
I could never, not in Michigan with all that snow and rain.
I mean, practically had little practical value. Catherine Blodgett, 1935, invented low reflection glass, which yeah, it's like, it's become like indispensable in like camera lenses, microscopes, eyeglasses, and it was this non-reflective glass coating that was like revolutionary. And it's something that is in every, like so many glass products that we use today, like our glasses. I thought that was amazing. The medical syringe, the one-handed medical syringe was invented by a woman, Letitia Greer, in 1899. The liquid paper, you guys, I have a list of them. I'm not going to go all into it, but like I'll end on this one.
Invented a lot, you know?
Oh my gosh, there's so many wonderful, the life raft, the fire escape, like Monopoly, the game Monopoly, liquid paper whiteout. And so that was Bette Nesbitt Graham in 1951, went from being a secretary, invented whiteout, and then became like a millionaire. So anyway, I love this question, and I love that it took me down this whole path of like amazing inventions that, you know, if there is one thing about like the narrative of women doing things, you know, through history, it's not their ability, it's that they don't get credit for stuff.
Yes.
For so long, haven't been visible as the ones who have done this amazing breakthrough work. And, you know, I mean, that's still true today. But so Deanna, I stole your question. So Regina, can you please give Deanna mine?
I will.
Well, I would say, I would add that specific to glass, Tutsinski comes to mind.
Yes, Tutsinski.
Because she, you know, she developed that technique for, you know, pulling that very, very thin cane, figured out not only that, but then how to fuse it properly. And so, you know, she's quite notable for a technological advance for sure, in glass specifically.
I'd like
I'll also say that every time I work with somebody, I learn something new. Like Shelly, I assisted her last January in Florida, and she used a wet towel folded over to get the powders off of her blown piece while she was working. I thought that was an awesome technique. I think women, because we have to multitask so much in our lives, and again, this is a generalization, but so we are innovative. We know how to like use the resources we have and get things done and organize. So I've learned something from every woman that's come and worked in our studio.
Thanks, Steph. That's just a bit of domestic knowledge, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I need to add to this list someone that we all know and may not know this, but Karen Willenbrink Johnson is responsible for the use of the oxypropane torch.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow, I've never known that.
I didn't know that either, Shelley. Wow.
Well, she was working with Bill. Bill started using, you know, the big rosebud torches, welding torches, and he was just like at his wit's end until, you know, they were burning the glass. And Karen said, you know, why don't we just bring in one of the flame worker torches? And so she had it adapted so that it could be handheld. And that was all her. So, you know, she's done so many more innovative techniques in glass. So her name really needs to be in there.
That is so amazing. That's a piece of information I am learning for the first time right here. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Write that down in your list, Pearl.
I'm writing it down. Karen Willenbrink Johnson, use of the oxypropane torch. I can't make anything without an oxypropane torch these days.
main thing.
Oh, that's so rad.
All right.
Well, I was just going to say, all these women, though, have built this amazing ladder for us to like continue to climb and reinforce for the people coming next, haven't they, really? So it's amazing. Like with Pearl, I've been going through and seeing all these incredible women. Yeah, amazing. Be interesting to see what happens next.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, Hannah, you actually have the next question. So do you have any advice to younger women artists who would love to pursue this career?
So I need to put it into context. So I grew up in North Wales, and because of spatially, so the physical geography of where I was, I ended up going to a convent school, not because my parents were Catholic. So I was in a convent school, which was seriously female dominated. So growing up in that environment, and then when I was sort of 15, 16, I was taken on one side by a career advisor, and his advice was that the most I could hope to achieve in life was to own a wool shop with wonky shelves. And that was the career advisor. So he set the bar really, really low. So I went to Edinburgh University in Scotland to study for a degree in geology. And again, to be honest, at that time, it was male, it was male dominated. There's no getting around that. And then I went into teaching what advice would I give to people? So you don't always have to listen to advice. So an example is, in 2015, I went to study for a master's, I was at a tutorial once, and someone came to give me some advice, and she said, if your house was burning down, what assuming that people were out and dogs and cats were out, bearded dragons were out, what item would you save? And as a child, I had a sort of a skunk rabbit. So I said, I'd take my skunk puppet, sorry. Yeah. I'd take that. And she said, right, my advice to you would be to take that skunk puppet, invest it in plaster, burn it out, fill the empty space with glass, and make us a puppet skunk, a glass one. I'm like, no, that's the worst thing I could ever imagine. So you can listen to this advice, but you don't have to take it on board, do you really? And another piece of advice is, I guess I spend a lot of time apologizing for myself, before I even enter the room. So recently someone contacted me. It's about 35 degrees here, which is 90s. So someone in London said, I've got 25 kilograms of glass here, recycled glass. Would you like to collect it? Which meant going through London on the tube and the train. And I was apologizing, saying, it's so hot, and I was making excuses, and it isn't, be it female or male, you don't have to apologize. So some of the molds I have, putting it in the kiln are really heavy, and And again, I apologize. I spent so long apologizing. So I think as a, you know, someone coming into the field, we don't have to make excuses. We don't have to apologize for what we're going to do. It's just, you know, just own it. It's nothing to do with being male or female. It's and it's not about being vulnerable. It's just, yeah.
That's an amazing answer, Hannah. Literally solid answer.
And equally, a wool shop with wonky shelves maybe isn't everyone's trajectory.
I like that he added wonky shelves too. He couldn't have just left the wool shop. He said, and add wonky shelves too.
My shelves would have been pristine. There would have been spirit levels involved.
Does anyone else have any advice that maybe you've received that's helped you, or anything you'd like to add?
I'm sorry, who was that? Did you ask?
Oh no, just saying in general, does anyone else, you know, received any advice in their earlier career that you always remember, or anything that would be beneficial to any young artist coming into this field? Just so.
Well, I think what I would have to say, and I have said, you know, on the occasions when I've deigned to speak to younger artists, which doesn't happen very often, but is, you know, I think about the best thing you can say is that get ready to walk in and compete.
Yeah.
That nothing's free. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl or whatever. It doesn't matter about anything. If your desire is to have success in this world, and you know, whatever your definition of success is, but we're coming from a gallery and we're professionals, and so success has to do with business. And Narcissus Quagliata said it recently. I was, you know, so glad to hear him say that you cannot separate art from business, period. And so I think that the best advice you can give anybody is get ready to walk in and compete. You have to show up and show up and show up and show up and show up. That's it.
Absolutely.
I would add something too. I would add to try a lot of different things in glass, because I started in glass like most people with a glass blowing class. And there was something about it that I loved. I loved the life of the glass, but I didn't love I loved blowing glass, but the aesthetic wasn't my voice. So I would say try different techniques, try as many things as you can, because it wasn't until I did Pat de Verre that, you know, I found my niche and I was able to say what I wanted to say through that technique, through that texture, through color. So just experiment. And there's so many ways to work with glass, and people just keep finding new ways to work with it. So try everything.
I would also say,
Go ahead, Pearl. You can go ahead.
I guess I would also say, don't get bogged down by perfection. You know, like go with things and flesh things out a little bit, because with glass, there's so much about perfection that can really be debilitating to young artists. So just keep moving, wait till something sparks, and then also kind of listen to what's easier for yourself to do and what comes more naturally, because that's probably tuned into your own intuition, and you'll have more success in the long run. That might be some advice I would give.
That's totally related to advice I want to share with you that I got that was terrible. Somebody, and it always stuck with me, you know, like an art teacher told me, like back in the day, like that I should lose the figure in my work, like stop using the figure if you want to be taken seriously as an artist. And it crushed me a little bit, because I've always had, like, you know, the figure like somewhere in my paintings and my glass work, like our connections, our human connections and relationships, you know, has always been and still is what fascinated me and what I wanted to represent in my work. And so I tried to do all of this like stuff that was just garbage. It was like not what I felt. And this, I guess, like kind of dovetails to what you were saying, Stephanie, is, you know, like, and also what you started saying, Hannah, too, about listening to advice. You know, like, I mean, do what you love, like do what feels good and right, and like what you're passionate about, and like that spirit will come out in the work, and you don't have to be like, you know, so you know, it'll help you not get so bogged down about what to do and make it really genuine if you do what you love. And, you know, whatever somebody says is what they say, but, you know, you got to be true to how you feel. And for young artists today, I see people doing such weird, cool stuff, you know, that's like stuff that's not on pedestals. It's stuff that's hard to show or hard to sell. And I totally get your point too, Leah, about like, you know, to make it as an artist, you have to be self-sustaining. But I love that so many young people are being so experimental with this medium. Like, I think it's so exciting. And to see what folks are doing, you know, just, yeah, get ready for that. It's going to change what this medium looks like.
Well, that's exactly the point, that especially if you're, you know, trying to push the edge, be prepared to show up and 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 last through it. You have to be resilient. And, you know, as Shelley said, you know, you have to be, you know, in it for the long haul and for the tough parts.
Yeah, I think too that if you truly believe in your idea, don't think that it's not going to be interesting to other people. If something captures your own attention, it's sure to capture somebody else's, especially if you put your full, just kind of, you know, passion for that idea behind what you make. Yeah, just believe in yourself. It's, yeah, believe that you can do it if you show up, right, Leah?
Yeah, I mean, you know, because nobody is more interested in you doing well than yourself.
Yeah.
And you can't expect anybody else to be more interested in your health, your success, your, you know, whatever, than you are in yourself. So, you know, I guess it's just like, it's this.
Do your thing. Yeah.
There you go.
I love it. She came ready with the t-shirt. I love it.
Well, yeah. I mean, you always wear the right t-shirt. God.
I think
All of
definitely
these advice.
persistence and working every day, showing up every day is the common denominator, I would guess. When my daughter was about 10, she really wanted a horse. And I told her, I said, all you have to do, I'll get you a horse if you ask me for the horse every single day for a year. It's all you have to do is ask me. It lasted like 4 days and then she just kind of forgot. But
that's some good advice
the
right
most
there.
genius thing I've ever heard.
yeah, so I never had to say no.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Stephanie, I'm going to use that all the time now. That's some brilliant parenting right there.
I'm going to use it on Steve.
Might work with husbands too, I'm not sure.
I'll let you know.
So I need all the advice I can get.
Just kidding on that one.
Okay, so I have one more question, but I just kind of wanted to talk about where this 5 series came from. As you guys know, at Glasgow's weekend last year, right, Erin? Last year? We actually had a panel of similar kind of conversation of, you know, just women in glass in general. And I thought it was like really, truly amazing watching it, as well as wanting to continue that conversation and have it be open. And, you know, I haven't been in the glass world that long, but when I first started working at Habatat, I have no art experience. I just love art so much, but I do have an extensive sales experience. So when you start working at Habatat, little known secret, the first hazing thing you have to organize a bookshelf that we have near his office. So that was my first duty. And it was really interesting because I got to see all of, you know, everyone's books and publications, like from every artist. And I remember as I was alphabeticalizing them, there was a lot of, you know, men, and we have a huge one of Dale Chihuly. And I was like, okay, Dale Chihuly, he's like huge in the art world, the glass art world. But then I remember seeing this cover of Marlena Rose, and it was just this fiery pic of her, like, you know, making her glass art, and she was wearing this black gown. So she was like blowing glass or casting it, and it was just fiery. And I just was thinking, like, this is so awesome. Like, who is she? And I was like, kind of gups, like when I first met her too, I was like, you're such a badass. Like, you did this in this dress, you know? So it kind of brought me all back to that, and just like having that feeling like, man, like she can, like she's doing it, like I could do it, I could do anything. So that's why I really wanted to open that conversation, because, you know, being from a a younger aspect too, and coming into this new glass art world, it's truly an amazing feeling because it's a family for sure, and everyone helps out everyone, and you guys can definitely sense that, and I love that. So I did want to thank you all for joining me too. So the last question is for Deanna Clayton, and generalizing this, because even when I first got into it, I saw it being a male-dominated field, but what are your thoughts on that, of it, you know, generalized in that sense?
Well, when I started in college, I was the only girl undergrad in the program at Kent, and it was all male. And the first day you go in and you pick your spot for that semester that you're going to work at. And I picked my spot, and the next day I went in and they had moved my stuff out and their stuff in.
Wow.
So from the beginning, I felt like, okay, this is a problem, you know, how big of a piece can you make kind of attitude. But that has not been the case in my career. I feel like there are just as many women, if not more women around me, working and doing great. And I couldn't be happier with my choice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Does anyone have anything to add?
No, I don't feel like it's dominated by men anymore.
Not anymore.
I know when I teach at Corning, or when I teach, whenever I teach anywhere, usually most of the students are women. Usually 80%. I don't know if women just take more classes, but women are definitely interested in glass. And I think collectors are interested in buying work by women just because it's different information.
Absolutely.
I would say like some of my favorite work being done in glass right now is women. And it's been like that for a minute too. But yeah, we're really like pushing this medium forward in my mind.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it, and it's not just the studio, it's sort of the bigger picture. So a few years ago, was it 2-3 years ago, when I went to Sophie, Chicago, and, you know, I was greeted by, was it 3 out of 7, you know, people at the Habatat family were women, you know, all amazing artwork by women, you know, being represented by Habatat, incredible women. And then I went over to the other building, you know, Susie Silbert from Corning talking about glass. And you know, you look at the Imagine Museum and you've got Trish Duggan and Jane Bookman, and, you know, it's a huge Brandy Clark of the Glass Art Society. There's so many women, and they're all empowering other women, you know, as all as part of the family. But they're all people with compassion. And so not, I don't mean to generalize and say just women, you know, so we've got the amazing Peter Bremners and Steve Lynn here. So it's, you know, part of the family which is filled with compassion and caring, and people who are trying to lift each other up, which is what I love. I don't know. So yeah, I think it's an amazing family, an amazing community, and that's never more evident. So when you go to like the Habatat website, and, you know, you look down at the list, there's so many incredible women. And I was looking at, you know, innovators in glass, and, you know, from Ginny Ruffner and Laura Donifer and Mary Shaker, all of these people, you know, and all these incredible women here, all innovators in their own right. Yeah, an incredible family.
For sure. Well, thank you guys. Is anyone else, even the men that are on here, are amazing artists? Do you have any comments or anything to add on?
I just want to say that I love all you women. I think you're doing fantastic work. You all stand in your power. Your work is original. I know that we talk a lot about, especially now, you know, about minorities and all of that. I don't see women as a minority. Wherever I taught around the world, whether it was, you know, South Africa or Beijing or Tokyo, there's always more women than guys. And all I want to say to you guys is I applaud to you. I respect you very, very much. I don't feel that there is a difference in the sense of that men get more respect or more acknowledgement. I think we're very much in an even field. So keep up the good work. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great.
Thank you, Peter.
I applaud you all. I love all of your work, and I agree with Peter in the fact that I think we're on an even playing field, and it's the power of each individual's work that comes to the forefront. And as long as we all individually stay powerful, we will all stay great.
Absolutely.
Nicely said, Steve.
Good job, Steve. Great ending to it. Well, thank you guys. I think that's it. I asked all my questions. I got all the hard-hitting answers out of them too. Did a great job, you guys. What do you think of my first Zoom? Killed it.
You did a great job, Regina.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Way to go, Regina.
Look forward to you doing more.
Yes, I want to continue more series and things of that nature. So if Aaron lets me, I don't know. We're going to review the Zoom and we'll see.
We will see. Just kidding. Great job, Regina.
We think you're awesome, Regina. Thanks for getting us all.
I think you guys are awesome. You are all my personal heroes. So just so you guys know.